On my birthday, I received a message from my dead grandfather. Happy birthday. I'm alive. Trembling, I traced the number and found him in a nursing home. They stole your inheritance, the house, he whispered. That night, I sent his photos to the family chat. Then, I canceled their allowance, froze their accounts, and cut off the utilities. And that was just the beginning. It's better when he's not around. Less stress for everyone, my father said, his voice as sharp as broken glass. My mother's laughter filtered from the kitchen. Oh, come on. Don't be so harsh. But seriously, maybe you should spend your birthday somewhere else. We have enough on our hands. I stood there, phone in hand, staring at the dining table where the remains of their dinner lay, empty wine glasses, a half-eaten cake, crumbs scattered like careless thoughts. They hadn't even set a place for me. Happy birthday. By the way, my sister, Sarah, said without looking up from her phone, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. I was going to post an old picture of us, but I thought you'd prefer some privacy. I didn't even ask why I hadn't been invited to celebrate. I knew the answer. I was the outsider, the one who always gave but was never enough, the one who worked 2 jobs to pay their debts, the one who missed weekends with friends because mom needed help with groceries, dad needed his car fixed, or Sarah simply needed something. I wasn't angry. I felt something colder, a kind of numbness, like the January wind beating against the windows. Sure, I managed, slipping the phone into my pocket. Have a good time. I didn't slam the door. I didn't yell. I simply left. I walked to my car, sat behind the wheel, and stared at the windshield, trying to remember a single moment where they had celebrated me, where they had been proud of me, where I had been anything more than convenient. The drive back to my apartment was a blur, the city lights stretching like molten glass. At home, I turned off my phone and sat in the darkness. I told myself I didn't care, that their words were just old habits cutting new wounds. But at midnight, I turned the phone on. A single notification lit up the screen. Unknown number. Happy birthday. I'm alive. I stared at it, probably a cruel joke from some bored friend who found the perfect way to twist the knife. I almost deleted it, but then I saw the contact name. Grandpa. The grandpa who had been dead for 3 years. Or so they told me. My heart hammered, cold sweat prickling my forehead. I checked the number. The area code matched the town where he used to live. But it didn't make sense. He was dead, buried. I had seen the obituary, the photos from the small funeral. Just mom, dad, and Sarah. They hadn't invited me. I was too busy with work, according to them. With trembling fingers, I typed, "Who is this?" 3 dots appeared on the screen, and then another message. Unknown number. They lied. Your house, your inheritance, they kept it. I need your help. I couldn't sleep. I stayed in the darkness, the cold glow of the phone the only light in the room. My grandfather's message glowed like an open wound. I didn't want to believe it, but I couldn't deny the chill crawling up my spine. I traced the number. The call came from a nursing home 2 towns over. It took less than an hour to get there, but it felt like an eternity. The building was gray and tired, the kind of place where time goes to die. As I stepped inside, a nurse looked up, her smile fading at the sight of my face. I'm here to see. I think it's my grandfather, I said, my voice shaky. Her expression softened. You mean Mr. Hargrove? Room 214. I almost ran. At the door, I stopped, breathing hard. What if it was a mistake? What if I opened it and saw a stranger? But I pushed the door open. A silver-haired old man sat by the window, sunlight drawing golden lines across his weary face. His eyes moved, and when they met mine, he smiled, a faint, trembling smile. I knew you'd come, he said, his voice as dry as fallen leaves, but with a spark of life in it. Grandpa? I asked. He nodded. I wanted to hug him, but my legs were stone. You were supposed to be dead, I whispered. That's what they wanted you to think, he replied, gesturing to the bed beside him. I collapsed onto it, feeling the whole world tilt. He smiled, a weak, trembling smile. I knew you'd come. His voice was like dry leaves, but there was a spark of life in it. Grandpa? I asked. He nodded. I wanted to hug him but couldn't move. My legs were stone. You were supposed to be dead, I whispered. That's what they wanted you to think. He pointed to the bed beside him, and I let myself fall onto it, feeling the weight of the world crashing down with me. They took everything, son. The house, the money. They told you I died because I refused to sign it over to them. So they forged my signature. My heart beat so loud I couldn't hear my own thoughts. But they had a funeral. Photos. Everything. Fake. They buried an empty coffin. They told you it was family only, didn't they? Yes. I felt nauseous. And the inheritance? That was meant for you. Only you. But they needed the money. They always need it. His hand trembled as he reached for mine. I tried to fight them, but they locked me away in here. Said I was losing my mind. Took my phone. But I begged the nurse. She let me use hers. That was all it took. That whisper of betrayal. And the numbness I felt turned into something else. A cold, hard determination. I jumped to my feet. I won't let them get away with this. My grandfather's grip tightened, surprisingly firm. Be careful. They'll do anything to keep what they stole. Anything. I walked out of the nursing home, the winter air slicing across my face, but I didn't feel it. My phone was already in my hand, dialing. My father answered after 2 rings. Ah, so you finally remember you have a family. His voice dripped with sarcasm. I just visited Grandpa. Silence. The kind that breaks like glass. I know everything, Dad. I know what you did. You've always been an ungrateful. Save your words. I felt something cold in my voice, something I'd never known before. You told me he was dead. You stole his house, his money. You faked his death and left him to rot in a nursing home. Watch your mouth, he snapped. You don't know anything. I know enough. I have the messages, the photos. I'm going to the police. There was a strangled curse and then another voice, my mother's. Please, honey, don't do this. You don't understand. We did it for the family. The family. I laughed, bitterly, coldly. Or for yourselves. Because your idea of family is just a collection of lies. I hung up. They called back immediately, but I ignored them. I went straight home and started digging. Bank records, text messages, photos. I knew where my parents kept their old files, the ones they thought I never touched. But I didn't just find proof about the house. I found something worse. Transfers. Thousands of euros siphoned from my grandfather's account over the past 3 years into accounts in my mother's and sister's names. The money was mine. The house was mine. Grandpa trusted them, and they stole it all. My phone buzzed. Facebook notification. A post from my mother. Families are built on trust and forgiveness. Some people just can't let go of resentment. Beneath it, a cascade of comments from aunts, uncles, even family friends. Don't worry, darling. Some children just grow up selfish. Aunt Beatrice. Ungrateful is an understatement. Uncle Miguel. And then Sarah. He's always been the problem child. Always causing drama. They were manipulating the story. They were making me the villain. My phone buzzed again. A text from Sarah. Grow up already. Grandpa's old. He doesn't even remember half the things he says. You want the house? Fine. But you won't take a penny from me. You've always been selfish. I wanted to throw the phone, but I didn't. Instead, I started taking screenshots, saving everything, making copies of every document I'd found. I compiled it into a neat folder on my laptop. I labeled it Truth and backed it up in 3 places. They thought they could control the narrative, that I'd back down like always. But they didn't know I was done being the obedient son. The cafe was quiet, the soft murmur of conversations just a backdrop. I chose a table in the corner, away from the windows. It was perfect. A clear view of the entrance. Nowhere to hide. I sat, my laptop open, the USB plugged in. The screen glowed with a folder titled Truth. Inside was everything. The forged signatures, the bank transfers, the screenshots, the video of Grandpa in the nursing home. The final nail in their coffin. With my laptop open and the USB plugged in, the screen glowed with a folder titled Truth. Inside was everything. The forged signatures, the bank transfers, the screenshots, and the video of Grandpa in the nursing home. The final nail in their coffin. My phone buzzed. A message from my mother. "We're here. Please don't make a scene." I didn't reply. They would soon regret those words. The door swung open, and I saw them enter. My father, rigid and angry. My mother, pale and nervous. Sarah, smiling, but with that fake sweetness that always held venom. They approached and, without a word, sat down opposite me. I looked at them in silence. I didn't say anything. It was my mother who broke the silence. "Honey, can we talk about this calmly? We're family." Family. I let the word hang in the air, like when they told me Grandpa was dead. Like when they stole his house and locked him away. My father's face twisted. "Don't you dare." I leaned back in my chair, clicking on a file on my laptop. It was a video of Grandpa. His voice was weak, but his words were clear. "They stole it. The house. The money. They lied to me." My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My father leaned forward, his voice a furious whisper. "Do you really think this little show scares us? Your grandfather is senile. He doesn't know what he's saying." "Really?" I clicked another file. A scanned document of the will, with Grandpa's real signature next to the forged one. Silence. Then Sarah laughed, a sharp, bitter laugh. "Always so dramatic. Do you really think this makes you a hero? Always so naive." I smiled. "Let's talk about reality." I clicked another file. Screenshots of their social media posts. Luxury vacations, designer clothes, spa treatments. And right next to them, the bank transfers from Grandpa's account to theirs. Sarah's smile vanished. "You have no right." "You have no right," I interrupted, "like you had no right to steal the inheritance that was meant for me, or to pretend Grandpa was dead." My mother's voice cracked. "Please, honey. We were only trying to protect you. You've always been so sensitive. Protect me." I leaned forward. "You let him die alone. You lied, you stole, and now you want me to smile and pretend everything's okay." My father leaned forward, his voice sharp with anger. "Enough. This is a family matter, and if you don't shut your mouth right now, you'll regret it." I didn't flinch. "Or what? Will you lie about me again? Maybe tell the family I'm a failure, like when you said I stole from you. Or that I was ungrateful." His face twisted into a mask of rage. "Always the problem child. Always running away. Always blaming us. It's no wonder Grandpa never wanted you around." I smiled. "That's funny, because he's right here." The door behind them opened, and a quiet figure walked in slowly, leaning carefully on his cane. "Grandpa." My mother's face went white. My father's mouth fell open. Sarah even let out a small gasp. "Hello, son." Grandpa's voice was weak, but firm. He looked surprised to see me. You, my father stammered, looking like a trapped animal. "You told me I was losing my mind," Grandpa whispered, his voice growing stronger with each word. "You said it wasn't safe for me to live alone. You promised me you'd take care of the house, that the money was for the family. But the only ones you took care of were yourselves." My mother's hands trembled. "Please, Dad. We did it for you. You couldn't live alone. We tried. Grandpa's voice turned sharp. "Tried? You tried to lock me away. You tried to steal everything I built. You tried to erase me." My father jumped to his feet. "This is a setup. We're leaving. Sit down." My voice cut through the air like a blade. And for the first time in my life, he actually stopped. "I have enough evidence to expose everything you've done," I continued, my voice cold and clear. "You stole, you lied, and you abandoned Grandpa, and now everyone is going to know about it." "Please," my mother sobbed. Can we fix this? Can we find a solution?" We are family. No, we're not. I looked at each of them, one by one. From this moment on, you are strangers to me. Sarah's face twisted with rage. Do you really think you're perfect? Some hero for doing this? You really think you can survive without us? Sarah shouted, her voice laced with venom. I laughed. No, Sarah. I wasn't anything because of you. But now, I'm free. I turned to Grandpa. Let's go. You don't need to waste another second with these parasites. As we walked away, my father's voice chased after us, a desperate, broken shout. You'll regret this. You need us. You'll always need us. But his voice was already fading, swallowed by the silence. I helped Grandpa into the car. His hands trembled, but his eyes were clear. Are you sure you want to do this? He whispered. I should have done it years ago, I replied. We drove away, leaving behind the shattered pieces of a family that never deserved the name. When we got to my apartment, I took out my phone. With a single tap, I blocked them all. Mother, father, sister, all of them. On messaging apps, even on banking apps. The first call came an hour after Grandpa and I returned to my apartment. First, it was Dad, then Mom, and finally Sarah. I watched the phone vibrate on the table and looked at Grandpa. His eyes were calm, almost grateful. You really did it, he whispered, as if afraid it was all a dream. Yes, I smiled. I did. The next morning, I called the bank. I removed their access to every account I'd ever opened for them. I deactivated the automatic payments that covered their loans, utility bills, car insurance. I sat staring at the phone. Was this really what I wanted? To cut every tie, even the financial ones? But after everything I'd discovered, I knew that protecting myself was the most important thing. This wasn't about revenge. It was about freedom. Then I called the electric company, the water service, the gas provider, and said the simplest words. I notified them that I would no longer be paying their utilities. Transfer all bills to the new owners. Every bill was in my name. Every service. Every expense. I'd paid for them for years. But not anymore. At noon, I drove to Grandpa's nursing home and packed his belongings. The staff watched me, surprised. He's going home, I said coldly, tossing his bags into the car. Grandpa settled into the passenger seat, and, for the first time in years, I saw him smile. A real smile. A peaceful one. I thought I'd die there, he whispered, as though fearing I'd change my mind. They wanted you to stay there. But that's over now. I took him to the apartment I'd rented beforehand. Spacious, bright, overlooking a park. Grandpa stood in the living room, staring as if he couldn't believe it. This is, for me? For us. And for me too. I called the lawyer, making sure all the inheritance documents, the house, and the accounts were in order. No forgeries. No fake signatures. Then I simply turned off my phone. The next few days were quiet. Almost too quiet. But I enjoyed every second. In the mornings, I made coffee, sat by the window, and watched the light play through the leaves of the trees. Grandpa started getting up earlier, reading the newspaper I brought him every day. He even started joking. You know, I always wanted to plant rose bushes. Your father said it was a waste of time. We'll plant them here. All you want. But the family wouldn't give up that easily. A week later, I was coming back from the grocery store when I saw a familiar face on the steps of my building. Sarah, standing there, hugging herself, her face twisted with desperation. I know you can hear me, she shouted as I approached. You can't just leave us like this. We're your family. Family. I walked past her, pulling out my keys. Family doesn't bury people alive. She grabbed my arm, her eyes shining with tears. It was a mistake. They just wanted to do what was best. They wanted what was best for themselves. I pulled my arm free and walked toward the door. You can't live without us. I was weak. But now I'm free. The next morning, the utilities were cut off at the house where they lived. I got a message from the lawyer. They tried to reconnect everything, but the bank denied them credit. Mom called me over 20 times. Her voice on the voicemail was unbearably weepy. How can you do this? We're your parents. We made mistakes, but that's no reason to destroy your family. Her tears didn't touch me. Then Dad called. First with threats, then with tears, and finally with silence. I listened to his last message. You've destroyed us. But we'll be back. You'll never be happy without us. I smiled and deleted the message. You've destroyed us. But we'll be back. You'll never be happy without us. I smiled and deleted the message. One afternoon, I stepped onto the balcony with a cup of tea. Grandpa sat beside me, wrapped in a blanket. You're stronger than I thought, he said. I just didn't have anything left to lose. We sat in silence, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. I didn't feel afraid. I didn't feel guilty. When I went back inside, I opened my laptop and took one final step. I made a donation to an organization that provides legal support to elderly victims of financial abuse. A significant amount. The same amount they'd tried to steal from me and Grandpa. I changed my phone number and finally deleted every reminder of their contacts. Now I had only one family, and I would never again allow anyone to use me. The courtroom was a cold, silent battlefield. My lawyer stood firm, presenting each piece of evidence. Forged signatures, stolen bank transfers, and the video of Grandpa, pale but lucid, whispering, they buried me alive. Dad was the first to crack. This is a setup. He's manipulating you all. The judge's voice cut through his rant like a knife. Mr. Hargrove, sit down. Mom clung to her chair, trying to cry, but the tears wouldn't come. Sarah stared at the table, her face pale, hands trembling. They had no defense. Every lie exposed, every theft undeniable. Then Grandpa stood. His voice was stronger than ever. They stole my life. They locked me away and tried to bury me. But my grandson, he saved me. The judge's gavel struck like thunder. The property and all assets will be returned to Mr. Hargrove and his grandson. The defendants must vacate the premises within 7 days. My father's face twisted with rage. You can't do this. It's our house. No, I said, standing up. It never was. A week later, I arrived with Grandpa. A sheriff's car was parked in front of the house. Movers were hauling bags and boxes onto the lawn. I watched them packing their things, shouting, blaming each other. Part of me should have felt satisfied. But instead, I only felt a profound sadness. How had my own family come to this? Maybe protecting myself also meant losing something else. My parents were on the porch. Dad shouting, Mom crying. Sarah stood frozen in shock. You can't take everything, my father yelled, struggling against the deputy. I didn't take it. You stole it. I'm just getting it back. Mom ran towards Grandpa, falling to her knees. Dad, please. We made mistakes. But we're your family. Grandpa looked at her, his voice cold as winter. You're not my family. Dad stepped forward, aggressive, but the deputy intervened. Sir, this is your final warning. I watched them get pushed into an old, dented sedan. The life they deserved. As they drove away, I watched them yell at each other, their lies turning against them. We turned the house into a home. New paint, new furniture, rose bushes blooming in the garden. The scent of fresh earth and new beginnings filled the air. Grandpa walked in the garden every morning, his cane tapping against the stone path. He seemed lighter, almost happy. You know, he chuckled one morning, your father always thought he was clever. But he never understood the difference between cunning and wisdom. I think he's learned it the hard way, I replied. But they didn't disappear completely. The letters started arriving. Desperate, pleading. Mom wrote first. Please. We were wrong. Your father's health is failing. We need help. Then Sarah. I lost my job. I have nothing. Please. Just a little money. I held the letters in my hands. Every word felt like a plea, but also like another manipulation. I should respond. Forgive. But I knew that opening that door meant allowing them to hurt me again. It was painful, but necessary. I read each letter, and then I burned them in the fireplace. The flames devoured their words, as empty as ever. Dad never wrote, but I heard he'd lost his job, sunk into debt, and started drinking. Of course, he blamed me. He always did. One afternoon, Grandpa and I sat on the porch, watching the sun sink behind the trees. The rose bushes swayed in the cool breeze, their petals catching the last of the light. I thought I'd die in that place, he whispered. You won't lose this place again. I promise. A car passed on the distant road, but it didn't matter. This was our world now. No more lies. No more betrayals. I'm proud of you, Grandpa murmured, his voice cracking. You did what I never could. I did what they forced me to do, I replied. And I felt it. The weight lifting. The chains breaking. We sat in silence, the house glowing in the last of the daylight. A place they tried to steal. A place they lost,